Okay, well, let's go ahead and get rolling just to respect the time of those who are here at this point in time. So, first of all, Zoom meeting, uh, just a couple of reminders and these types of things. Probably a good idea to mute yourself. Feel free to go ahead and put your video on. I like seeing the video. I understand that there's bandwidth issues there sometimes. So, if you don't want to share your video, I'm fine with that. But for now, if you want to, that's fine too. Uh, at any point in time, feel free to mic in, interrupt me if you have a question, no problem. Obviously, if my audio cuts out and I don't know it and I'm sitting here just talking and you guys can't hear me, let me know right away. There's also a chat, so I'll try and pay attention to the chat as we go along. There should be little reminders for me to look at that. So I'll go to the chat as well. I'm also going to immediately apologize for the background noise that you might hear at my house. I share an office with my wife, so she'll get phone calls and all sorts of things. I have a dog laying right next to me. He's only 9 months old, so who knows what's going to happen with him in the next 20 minutes. And then I have two kids here. They're doing school, so it's a crazy time. So we're all here. So if you hear stuff in the background, I apologize for that. Hopefully it'll be fairly quiet though. Okay, so two main objectives of what we want to do today. We're really starting the second week of classes, but this is the first time I've met any of you in a synchronous meeting. So here's what I want to do. I want to first just introduce myself to all of you. And then secondly, I want to go ahead and introduce you to the courses, kind of walk through the syllabus, make sure that we clear up any questions on what we consider the hybrid model of this class. I know it can be confusing for students. I've talked to my TAs and they've, all of them said, wow, this whole thing, the hybrid thing is actually so much harder than just going to class. So anyway, I'm going to try and clear some things up and allow you to ask some questions. Okay. And then we'll be done for the day. So let's do this. Introduce myself, reach out and shake my hand. And I'll start with this. My name's Aaron Shoulders. I think that's always a great place, oddly, to start an introduction is your name. So some of you immediately start to think to yourself, though, okay, so like if I go up to them after class or after the Zoom meeting or write them an email and say, hey, what do I say after that? Like, hey, Dr. Shoulders, or hey, Professor Shoulders, or what do I say? You can certainly call me Dr. Shoulders or Professor Shoulders. So I have the credentials for both of those titles. I got my PhD in 2006 from Colorado State University, actually. And they were kind enough, and I was fortunate enough to be hired as a faculty member and have since then worked my way up to associate professor in our department. So Dr. Shoulders, Professor Shoulders, that works great, right? Now, I'm going to ask some of you to be a little bit more brave. In fact, I'm going to ask all of you to be a little bit more brave and go ahead and call me Captain America. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you want to call me Captain America? That's so much better, right? Than any of those things. And quite honestly, it's so much easier to spell. Especially Cap. Let's just go with Cap. That will be even better, right? 3 letters, CAP, so much easier to spell in an email than Dr. Shoulders, especially when you look at the syllabus. And some of you have done this. You've looked at the syllabus and said he doesn't know how to spell his last name. And that's not true. I do know how to spell my last name. It is Shoulders, just like the body part without the U, though. Okay, so that's easy to misspell, whereas Cap is not easy to misspell. Okay, so that's why I like Cap. Now, there is a contingency of students that feels that Ant-Man is more appropriate. And I don't know if that is fine or not. I'll say this. Let's just table the conversation. We'll come back to Ant-Man. We'll find out later what you all think. Maybe we should have like a poll on it or something like that. Something to do with Paul Rudd and my sense of humor or something along those lines. So maybe it's Ant-Man, but we'll go with Cap for now. Okay, my wife calls me Babe, and she calls me Sweets, and that's not going to work for any of you. So there's limitations, right? Don't call me Babe. Don't call me Sweets. That would be inappropriate. I try and get my kids to go along with Cap, and they just make fun of me. Kind of like probably what some of you are doing right now. And that's okay, I guess. I am, after all, a geek. By the way, I have a fantasy baseball team, and I go by the geek in that environment. So you could call me that too, the geek. It has to have the, though. It can't be geek. It can be the geek, and I'm fine with that. Okay, so anyway, some of you are like, I have no idea what to call him now. I really don't. Superheroes too weird. The geek is also strange. Professor Shoulders sounds too formal, so maybe I'll just settle on shoulders or something like that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. So that's my name. Now, the reason I do this, right, just so you know, I didn't really say this, there's been decades of research that have demonstrated that students perform better in an environment where they feel connected to the professor and the instructor of the class. Okay, so that's what I'm attempting to do. Okay, there's decades of research that shows that you will all perform better if you feel connected to one another. So we'll try and work in groups and that kind of thing too. That's essentially what I'm doing. I want you to feel comfortable in this class. This is BC403, your new favorite class. Okay. All right. Now, other things in terms of introduction, because all I've told you at this point in time is my name, really, and what I'm okay with you calling me. So let me say this. If I were to die today, then I would want you to remember me as. So if you can say that about someone and know that about someone, then you kind of have an idea of what at least motivates them and causes them to tick. So if I were to die today, I would want people to remember me first and foremost as a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ. So I love him and consider him my God and my Savior and my King and lots of other things, including by his own imitation, my friend. So I'm deeply convicted of the central truths of the Christian faith, meaning this, that I believe that God exists, that he created the universe and he did so in perfection, but mankind rebelled against him, resulting in the totality of human and animal suffering. But God loves the world and desires to save us from our suffering. And the cornerstone of that plan of salvation is in his son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross, rose from the dead, ascended to heaven, is coming again. Right? So I'm deeply convicted of those things. And I don't think I have to check my brain at the door for those things. I see evidence for those statements in like history and philosophy and theology, and yes, even science. Okay, so that's a lot of who I am, and that's what makes me tick. Right now, let me give some more introductory stuff here. My family, this is a big portion of who I am as well. 21 years ago, I decided I should ask my best friend to marry me. And she said yes. And it was great then. And it's even better now. I never, ever regretted that decision. If you're wondering who Becky is, so Becky's my wife, in this picture, she's the one with the long hair and the dress on. Okay, so that's Becky. And this is my family. Now, there are other people here on this, obviously, that are part of my family. But Becky is, she's so great. I could say so many wonderful things about her, but I'll spare you the gory details. Okay. Now, our kids. So we have a 19-year-old now, and he's standing there in graduation regalia. His name is Isaiah, and he moved out of the house, except for on weekends. He comes back on weekends, and he eats all of our food, and he uses our laundry room, and then he leaves again. So I'm sure that you as college students have no idea what that's like, but anyway, that's Isaiah, 19 years old. This picture was actually taken in July because he was one of those strange, right, COVID graduation ceremonies. It was late July. Okay, so anyway, standing next to him in the gray shirt is Ian. And Ian, honestly, I'm going to say this, Ian doesn't look anything like that anymore. He's 17. He's a junior in high school. And he's probably grown 6 inches in the last 6 months or something like that. So he doesn't look like that anymore. But that's Ian. And then standing right in front of them in the Vans shirt, that's our 12-year-old Simon. He's a 7th grader. And, let me just say this. He is as much trouble as he looks. Okay, so he's got an ornery streak in him, and he causes a lot of enjoyment for all of us. All of them do. So, right. So that's I could go on and on, but I'll leave it at that. Well, let me just say this: I am a sports fan. I already mentioned I have a fantasy baseball team. Baseball is my thing. I like baseball. Okay. I have had the unfortunate distinction to be referred to as a Colorado Rocky fan since 1993. If you're a Rockies fan, you know what I mean. Unfortunate. Okay, so they are a team that tries my patience and also my loyalty. But I know this. I know that the year that I say I'm not going to cheer for the Rockies, they will win the World Series. And so I'm stuck, right? So anyway, maybe I should do it like secretly, right? So I'm exposing instead of my, superstition in terms of baseball. All baseball people are superstitious, but anyway. So I like baseball. Football's okay. I honestly haven't paid too much attention to football. I do know that Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl again. So, there you go. Let's go Tom Brady, I guess. I honestly, I'll be honest, I'm pulling for the Kansas City Chiefs. So anyway. Okay. That's it. That's it for an introduction. So let's move on and do that second objective in the class. And that is to introduce this hybrid model of the class, which I know is difficult. Honestly, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for you. It's hard to know exactly what all the ins and outs of it are. So I want to go ahead and give you a quick introduction. Honestly, we're almost a week into the class now. I'm hoping that, excuse me, most of you have some idea of how the class is working. But I do want to give you some more information about that because I know there's lingering questions out there. When we say hybrid, we simply mean this, that there is a synchronous portion and then there's an asynchronous portion, okay? And what I mean by that is the synchronous meaning we're all going to come together at an agreed upon time and we're going to do something together, okay? And then there's the asynchronous portion, and asynchronous portion means that you are going to be doing something alone, okay? Apart from the rest of the group. I will put into place a schedule, but you can kind of fit that schedule around. There's a lot of play in that schedule. Okay, so that's asynchronous. So I want to talk about both of those. Let's talk about here, the asynchronous first portion of this. And let me go ahead and leave the PowerPoint. I think the asynchronous portion is best seen when looking at Canvas. Okay, so this is the Canvas homepage for BC403. I'm sure that all of you have seen it, Comprehensive Biochemistry 2. First of all, make sure that you are always checking the announcements page. Okay, if you don't get these in your email, then please, the first thing you do when you sign into BC403, look at the announcements page. That's how I will communicate to the class almost exclusively through these announcements, okay? Now, in this though, also, this is getting this asynchronous portion, we go to modules, okay? And really, when we think about the asynchronous portion, it will come down to what's found in this Echo 360 link. Now, if I click on it, because I'm in this student view setting, it'll give me an error. So I'm not going to do that. But hopefully you've been there. In fact, I would venture to say most of you have been there already. But Echo 360 is going to have previously recorded sessions of the class that were made last spring, almost a year ago now. Okay. And so I want you to be listening to that. And I had this debate within myself, like, do I make new content? Do I, sit down in front of my computer, make recordings that then I have them listen to asynchronously? Or do I just present old semesters? And I decided to go with old semesters. And the reason is primarily because it's in front of a live audience and it feels much more like a classroom setting. And I really want this to be a great experience. And I think that that's better than me just sitting and you just staring at my face in this YouTube marathon. Okay, so that's my conviction on that. Now, as you listen to that, you will find that there are questions, poll everywhere questions that are being presented to that live audience. And I want you to participate in those. Now, some of you are saying, I went through that Start Here page and I had to make a poll everywhere account and I can't find the questions on the Poll Everywhere account. Where are they? Well, that Poll Everywhere account that I had you make is only for live Poll Everywhere questions that will happen only in the synchronous setting, okay? The Poll Everywhere questions that are being asked in the Echo 360 recordings were asked a year ago. They don't exist in Poll Everywhere account. So you can participate in those questions by coming to these discussion forums, right? So today, hopefully you'll be listening to LN01C if you haven't already. Click on that and it will say, give your response to the Poll Everywhere questions for the day below. If there was more than one question, write your response such as, okay? And so when you come across the Poll Everywhere account in question, in LN01C, pause it, come back here and put your response, right? So someone's already done that, right? Put your response and then go back to the Echo 360 recording and then keep on listening, right? And that's how you can do the asynchronous session of the class. Now, I will say this, okay? First of all, there is a schedule for these discussion forums, right? The 20th was last Wednesday, the 22nd was Friday, and the 25th is today. So there's due dates for these, okay? And the reason that I did that is because we know, having talked to students in the university, that when we went to the all virtual setting in March, students said, man, I have a really hard time making a schedule for myself for each day and each week. And so what I'm trying to do is put that schedule in place. So you should be listening to LN01C. When you think about it this way, if we were in the live, normal semester setting without the pandemic, then we would meet 3 times a week, which means that you need to listen to Echo 360 recordings 3 times a week. Okay, so that's the idea, that's the plan. Now, the other thing is that these discussion questions are not obligatory, they're voluntary, okay? Meaning that you don't have to do them on that date, okay? I suggest that you do. I think that's the best way to do it, right? And I'm so convinced that it's the best way to do it, and I'm willing to give you a small amount of extra credit if you participate in 80% of those questions, okay? In fact, I'm going to give you 5 points extra credit if you participate in a timely fashion 80% of these questions, okay? Now, some of you are saying, it has a point value. Why does it have a point value if they're not obligatory? Well, the reason it has a point value is for my purposes, okay? It's the easiest way to track who has participated in the questions and when, right? So that's how I'm going to do that. Those 0.01 points, which is such a minuscule amount of points, won't count for you. They're not going to count against you, okay? It's just a tracking method. That's plain and simple, okay? All right, now, that's asynchronous session, okay? Use the discussion forums, go to Echo 360, listen to the recordings. Lots of material in that, and you'll be held accountable for all that material, okay? Now, let me come back to this, and we'll look at this table, the synchronous portion. So we have the asynchronous portion, and the hybrid model, we have the synchronous portion. The synchronous portion means that we are going to come together, and we are going to meet as a class, and we're going to do certain things. I can't fit all of you into one classroom right now. Okay, the class is too big for the classroom that we're using. So we had to split the class up into sections. And I'm assuming that everyone that's here is in section 001 to 230. Okay, meaning that you're going to meet on Monday from 2 to 5. We will meet a total of 11 times throughout the semester. And the semester is 16 weeks long. Okay, some of you say, well, why not 16 weeks instead of, or 16 times instead of 11 times, right? And the reason is because one of those weeks in the 16-week semester is spring break. We won't meet then. The other 4 weeks are going to be exam weeks, and I don't want to have synchronous meeting times during exam weeks where you're doing stuff that may distract you from your studies for the exam. Okay, and it's curriculum, it doesn't work out real well with the content either. So we're going to meet 11 times. Today is one of those times. Okay, obviously we're meeting Monday 2 to 2:50 for all of you. Okay, now for all of you, just so we have some understanding of this as well, okay? We are going to meet, like I said, 11 times. For the first couple of weeks, we will meet virtually in Zoom synchronous meetings, like what we're doing right now. Not, in my opinion, the greatest way to hold a class session, okay? But it's what we're stuck with at this point in time. Right? We are a phase 3 class, which means that the university is going to tell phase 3 classes when we can meet face-to-face again on the magical date, February 5th. That's a magical date. It's like burned into my mind at this point in time. My hope is that on February 5th, they're going to come out and say, hey, all of you people that have been doing virtual education, let's start doing that face-to-face now. And I'm going to say, yes, let's do it, okay? And when we do that, then we will start meeting on Mondays from 2 to 2:50 in Stadium 1205. Okay, that will be our room that we'll meet in. Again, I can't bring all of you together still in that setting because it'd be too big, and we still are going to have to maintain social distancing, that kind of thing, okay? And during these days, whether we're Zoom or whether we're face-to-face, we're going to be working on these worksheets that I'll talk about a little bit later, okay? All right. So that's the brief overview of the synchronous and asynchronous model. If you listen to the introductory recording, honestly, that was all review for you. You're like, great, I think I've got it. Okay, some of you might still have questions. In fact, let's look here. We do have a chat question here. Let me check this out. Thank you for trying to connect to us, Cap. We appreciate it. Absolutely, no problem, Vincent. Okay, so I hope to get to know all of you, by the way. I know that that's not possible. I'm not going to get to know all of you the way I would like to because it's too big of a class, but I hope that I get to know all of you. Okay, all right. Now, next, let's see here. Oh, yes, COVID-19. We still have to talk about the pandemic. Apparently, it's still there. Okay, and I'm hoping that we're going to get back to some level of normalcy later on in life. But for now, we'll be grateful for what we have. We're grateful that this happened not in 1980, right? Think about it. This without the internet. Like, how would we do this? So anyway, okay. So anyway, let's just say this. Obviously I'll be reminding people of this once we go face to face, because these are really important when we go face to face. Here's going to be the key. We are going to be doing worksheet assignments in class, Zoom or otherwise, right? That will be due that particular day that we do them. All right. And if you are sick, I'm going to tell you, and the university is going to tell you, and everyone's going to tell you, don't come to class. Right? So if you wake up on the day that you're supposed to appear in class, Monday, and you say, man, my throat hurts, I've got a fever and a headache, and I can't taste anything. Don't come to class. Don't come to class. Okay. Even if you don't show all those symptoms, just don't come to class. Write me an email, let me know, get yourself tested. Okay. I will tell you at that point in time, I'm going to say, well, you can't come to class. Do you feel well enough to sit in a live stream Echo 360 recording on Monday? Right? And you say yes, then I'll say, great, that's awesome. You can complete the assignment doing the live stream on Echo 360. Okay, so I will record Monday on Echo 360 as a live stream class. Okay, so you can get this stuff done. Now, if you say to me, I feel absolutely terrible, I'm not going to even be able to do that, we'll figure something else out. Okay, I don't want you to be penalized for being sick. Okay, so I'm certainly going to be working with you and how you feel and that kind of thing. So don't come to class if you're sick, obviously. Okay. When we do get to class and we do face-to-face, we're still going to be wearing a mask. We're going to be sitting in assigned seats. There's going to be some other things I'll remind you of as we get to that point. Okay. I'm hoping February 8th, but that's a hope right now. We don't know for sure. Okay. All right. Next. Now we can move. Honestly, I feel like now we can move into like just some normal things that I would do in the semester. Okay. So, not COVID related stuff or hybrid related stuff. So let's just talk a little bit about the class as a whole. So there's my information. I do have a physical office. It is on campus. It is in the AZ building. It's in E206D. I am willing to meet face-to-face with people. I'm fine with that. We can do so in a socially distant, acceptable manner. Okay. Obviously that means there'll be only one person in my office with me at a time. If you want to meet with me face-to-face, by all means, send me an email and we can do that. I probably will say, let's do it virtually, at least until the university says, let's all get face-to-face, because the majority of what I'm going to be doing is going to be from home until then. Okay. But once we start meeting face-to-face, I'll be on campus for sure. Okay. I'm going to also hold Q&A sessions. The first one is right after we finish class today. Okay, I'm gonna hold them Monday from 3 to 4. I will hold them on, it says MS Teams or Zoom, it is MS Teams. Okay, I decided to do that to avoid the confusion between our synchronous meetings and the Q&A session. Okay, we have 3 TAs. Nick, who is a graduate student, he's a second-year graduate student, he's gonna be helping out with the class. He's had several metabolism courses, he's gonna be awesome. Okay, he is going to actually be coming to class on Wednesday. But he'll hold a Q&A. It says to be determined, but I posted the schedule for that last week. Okay, so look at Canvas in the announcements and you can see the schedule when he's going to plan on meeting. Okay, and hold his Q&A session. Aiden is an undergraduate student. He took this class from me last year, as well as Owen, who's just below him. Aiden's going to attend on Friday. Owen is here probably right now. I don't see him. He's probably in the whole thing down here, but he's here. He's going to be here with us when we do a face-to-face. He'll be helping you all out doing the worksheets. And I'm really happy with the team of TAs I have, or LAs. They go by LAs as well. I think they're going to do a great job. They are all going to hold weekly Q&A sessions, okay, for students. And Q&A sessions, whether it's with me or any of those guys, is just what they sound like. You come, you have questions, you get answers, hopefully. Okay, that's the idea of those things. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about the structure of those as we move through the class. All right, textbook. and other things like that. The textbook is suggested text, Lininger's Principles of Biochemistry, the 7th edition. It's big. It's really big. There is an 8th edition, which is awesome. It's so awesome that they decided to charge you like over $300 for it, brand new. So that's how awesome it is. So I thought that the 7th edition is awesome as well, but not nearly as expensive as the 8th edition. So let's just go with the 7th edition since it's a suggested text. Now, by suggested, what I mean by that is that there's not any assignments that are going to come directly out of that you're going to have to turn in for points. Okay, I will give reading assignments from it. And I think it's actually a really good book. That's why I suggest it. But we'll only be using about 25% of it. It covers all of biochemistry, really. It's written to cover topics in both Comprehensive Biochemistry 1 and 2, 401 and 403. Okay, so that's how it's been written. So we'll use that much of it. There are things that we will talk about in class that are not in the book either. Okay, so anyway, all right. So that's the book. Right now, objectives. So in Canvas you can find learning objectives. So let me do this. I said the exam study modules, but let's actually go here, the Start Here page. I just want to show you this. Course learning objectives, right there. Click on it, download it, okay, and look at those things because they're really helpful. That's actually the document that I will look at while I'm writing the exam. Okay, so it's definitely something that's going to be used by me to help me determine how to examine you. Okay, you should therefore know about it and hopefully prepare using it. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, I do also post study guides in the exam study materials. There's a module. As you work your way down, you'll see the study materials. Okay. In terms of the course, the way it's laid out, we've got Unit 1, which we're working on right now. What I would call like BC403 LN01A as part of Unit 1, laying the foundations. You've probably gone through LN01A and LN01B and possibly LN01C, I hope. So you're close to the finish of Unit 1, talking there about designs of metabolic pathways and how can they be regulated, and what's a steady state, what's flux, and that kind of things. What are enzymes and how are they regulated, that kind of thing. We will jump from that this week actually into carbohydrate metabolism. We'll spend quite a bit of time on carbohydrate metabolism. It'll cover lectures 2 through 6. And then we'll go into the Unit 3 into cellular respiration. Lots of awesome topics in cellular respiration. I mean, things like the electron transport chain and ATP synthase and the citric acid cycle, really cool stuff. So that'll be lecture 7 through 9. And then we'll get into lipid metabolism in lectures 10 through 11. And then finally, at the end of the semester, we'll get into amino acid metabolism in lecture 12. Okay. In each case, carbohydrate metabolism, lipid metabolism, and amino acid metabolism, we'll think about not only how these molecules like carbohydrates, lipids, and amino acids are metabolized within the cell, how they're made, how they're broken down. We'll also think about how they get into the body and how they get into particular cell types. Okay, so we'll talk about absorption of them as well. Okay, which is a kind of a cool topic in and of itself. Okay, so that's the course. Now, let me say this. I do want to do one more thing here. If I come back here to Canvas, I'm going to go to the modules. There is another module that hopefully you have seen, but we're not too late if you haven't seen it, okay? There's the review module, okay? And in that, there's 3 YouTube links, okay? This one, that cover material that I feel you should have covered at some point in time in your previous coursework. Okay, whether that be general chemistry, whether that be organic chemistry or something along those lines. However, it's important enough for me to give a review of that and point you in that direction and say, these things do you want to look at, okay, so that you can hit the ground running in this class. There will be 2 quizzes, quiz 1 and quiz 2. Those are both due on the 27th, that's Wednesday, that will be over these modules, okay? Anytime you take a quiz, you're going to get 2 opportunities to take it, okay? I will always take your highest score in that quiz, which means that if you want, you could take quiz 1 and quiz 2 the first time and find out, without even listening to these, and find out how am I doing. And if you do terrible on them, then go back and listen to these, okay, and do really well on the quiz the second time, okay? But if you get a 5 out of 5 on these are worth 5 points, you don't need to go ahead and listen to those. You've already got the material mastered, okay? And then you can move on and save yourself some time, okay? Okay, back to the PowerPoint here so I don't forget things. Okay, let's do this. Let me stop here, look here, any questions? Doesn't look like I have any chat questions at this point in time. Okay, so people are following along. That's good. Again, if you have a question, you just mic in and let me know, or just get on the chat and say something. Okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the assignments in the class, and we'll kind of head towards wrapping this thing up. So first of all, quizzes. I've already mentioned that the quiz 1 and quiz 2, there'll be 13 total quizzes in the class. They'll be worth 5 points each, so that's 65 points total. Again, you always get 2 attempts. They will be found on Canvas, and I'll always take your highest score. So if you get a 5 out of 5, all of them are worth 5 points, then you don't have to take it the second time, okay? The problem sets. So I'm going to have 5 of these. They're going to be worth 13 points. Our first one is due Monday, this upcoming Monday, not today, but it would be February 1st. Okay, and it's actually available to you right now. You can download it and do it. I'll probably post an announcement about that on Thursday, just to make sure that we're all clear on what that is. But most of the problem sets will look something like what you can see on that one. There'll be assignments that will say, hey, there's this cool metabolic pathway. Why don't you diagram it? Something along those lines. Okay, because I would rather have you diagram it and do that on your own than spend a lot of time in class of me just pointing to the metabolic pathway. So, okay. Exams. There's going to be 4 of them. They'll be worth 90 points each. Exam format is going to be these multiple choice true-false type questions. And then there will also be 3 short answer questions that are fairly difficult in many ways. They'll test your ability to understand and make connections of these metabolic pathways in the content of the class. Exams will be proctored. They will be online. And I'm going to be using Respondus proctoring systems. So I'll make more announcements as we come up to those exam dates on that. Okay. Okay. Next. Days. Yes, that's right. Other assignments. So like I've said, we're going to meet 11 times total synchronously. In 10 of those times, we're going to be doing some sort of assignment, what I'm going to call worksheets. The worksheets will be posted to you the day that you're going to be doing them. All right, so for all of you, your first worksheet will be posted next Monday morning. All right, you'll be able to download it, or make it available to you on your tablet. You want to come to class with it available, ready to write on it. And then what you're going to find out with those worksheets is that I will introduce the day, what we're going to be doing. I'll break you up into groups. You'll be working on the worksheets together. We'll bring you all back together. I'll review the things that you should have done in that activity, break you up into groups again. You'll do something else. We'll come back. We'll get you some more feedback on that. Okay. And hopefully by the end of that day, you'll have a completed worksheet, okay, that you can then upload to Canvas and turn in. They will be due the day that you work on them. Okay. Now, when I say due that day, they'll be due 11:59 p.m. So you don't have to upload them right after class, but that'd probably be the best idea so you don't forget. But they are due that day. The worksheets are not going to add new material to the class. Okay, so this is going to be over the stuff that you're doing in the Echo 360 recordings. I don't want to say, hey, I get to meet synchronously and asynchronously. I can take a 3-credit course and make it a 4-credit course. It's not what I'm trying to do. We're not going to cover new material. The reason that I wanted to give you previous semesters content is so that I could concentrate on doing these worksheets with you all in their synchronous times that will hopefully help you nail down those concepts and do better on the exam and do better in the class. Okay, all right. So they're going to be worth anywhere between 7.5 to 10 points. It says 110.8. Oh yeah, that's right. This is true. There'll be a worksheet that's worth 10 points at the very end of the semester. It's a really good one, but I couldn't fit it into a synchronous meeting time, so we'll do it asynchronously. Okay, and hopefully that'll make sense when we get to it. Okay, all right. Poll everywhere now. I talked about poll everywhere for the asynchronous stuff. I talked about the discussion forums. Okay. And now I want to talk about poll everywhere for the synchronous meeting times. This is where you want to download the app, or you'll have your phone. You can text me answers and that kind of stuff. You'll be participating in polls in our live synchronous meeting times. Okay. For instance, we can do this right now. Okay. So let me pull this up. Here is a poll everywhere. All right, so if you have made an account, honestly, and you have the app and everything, you can participate in this. I'm going to unlock this. If you don't have the app, you can go to pollev.com/thegeek and participate in it. Okay, and this is just a Q&A. So it says, the question says this: what is least clear to me so far is right? So you want to say that. You don't have to respond to this one. I'm not going to make you respond to this. Okay. But this is what would be called a Q&A poll, okay? And you can just put a question in there, and I will then look at that and respond to it. Right now, let me say this. All right, yeah, so this is a test. So someone might be just saying, test, nothing yet, great. All right, so maybe nothing's not clear right now. As we get through the material, okay, here's a great example, right? Predicting Q and KEQ from delta G. This is a great example of how to use the Q&A. At the end of every synchronous meeting time, I will put a Q&A question out there just like this one, okay? And I'll just say, hey, what are you confused on? And my hope is that you're going to state something along these lines with content. Those questions, because they're done at the end of class, I won't address them at the end of class. But what I will do is I will communicate those questions to your TAs, and of course myself, I'll know them. And we will try and answer them in our Q&A breakout times, okay, so that we have something to talk about. Of course, you can bring to those sessions other questions, and we will hopefully be able to talk through those questions, okay? So that's what we're trying to do, okay? Right, trying to grasp the organization of this class. Hybrid, I understand. So hopefully today is helping her out, right? The ETC, right? So that's chapter 9 or lecture 9 material, so don't worry about that. So used to be worksheets, but now I understand. Okay, great. So we're clearing up things, right? Everything's going great. Worksheets, okay. The worksheets will hopefully become clearer as we start to work on them in our synchronous time. You haven't seen one, so it's understandable that you're not really all that well versed in understanding what they're going to be. Come Monday morning, I'll post one, and hopefully you'll be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, so this is kind of what we're going to do. You don't have to prepare for them. You just have to come to class that day, okay, and be ready to work on them in a group. That's all you have to do, and then you'll have to upload them at the end of that, okay? All right, so it looks like most people are understanding things, hybrid format. Yeah, I'm hopefully talking about that. If you still are confused about this after class today, by all means, just hang out for a little bit. I'll try and answer those questions as we get to them, okay? Textbooks, yeah, I mean, the textbook, I've already kind of talked a little bit about that. Get the 7th edition if you need a textbook, you feel like you want to read one. Okay, I do put reading assignments on the schedule that's found at the very end of the syllabus, okay, which I haven't mentioned yet, but that's a really good source of finding out when things are due. Okay, things are going to be due dates are going to be posted on Canvas as well. In fact, every week at the beginning of the week, I'll post a weekly reminder post, and that will organize your week in terms of what's due. Okay, but you can also look at the schedule and the syllabus, and hopefully that will help you out. Okay, so there's a lot of people saying this, right? So I'm gonna address this in my Q&A session, which comes right after class. Okay, so if you have that question, then by all means, let's talk about it. Okay, and I'll let my TAs know that this is things that people are struggling with, and they'll try and address it right at the very beginning of their Q&A session. Okay, okay. So I will go through all these. Just kind of look through this. Okay, great. All right, so I did notice this. Let me do this. There's 5 people that have a chat. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, we already did that. What is the username for poll everywhere? The / the geek is the username. Okay, so that's my new username. Oh, people already answered it. There you go. Thank you. There we go. I have a link to download of the PDF of the 7th edition of the textbook. Is it okay for me to post this in the chat? This is prior to material, but ultimately any additional cost to college students makes it much more accessible and gives students unequal levels of resource. So I I will claim that I didn't read that question. I don't know about it. So if it gets posted, then it wasn't because I told you to. Okay, plausible deniability. All right, there we go. Okay, so I didn't see that. All right, so anyway, all right, so let's do that. Okay, so no more chat material. There we are. I think that's it. Let me go ahead and close this poll here. Escape that. I'm gonna go ahead and just lock it up now. Okay, so you get the little practice with poll everywhere. You get that Q&A. And then we'll be trying to address those questions in our Q&A sessions, okay? Now, let me come back to this. We are almost done. What time is it? Yeah, we should be almost done. So let's move on here. Talked about that. We did that already. Extra credit. Let's talk about extra credit. Extra credit's always good, right? So if you participate in a timely fashion in the discussion forum, this would be the poll everywhere questions in the asynchronous portion. If you do that 80% of the time throughout the semester, I'll give you 10 points extra credit, which is a lot. That's a fair amount. Okay, so you want to do that. There's good incentive to do that. You also get an additional 5 points for coming to the Q&A sessions. Right, your TAs and I are going to hold a total of 4 of those a week. Okay, so you have some to pick from. I mean, I know that people's schedules don't always work with things, right? But hopefully you can make at least one of those. You show up, you participate in a question or two or something like that. You don't have to stay the whole time, right? But you participate. We'll take your attendance. We'll give you credit for being there that day, and then that will count towards your 12 to 14 weeks that we hold those Q&A sessions. And we'll kind of see how the format of those goes and if they're working for students and working for TAs and being helpful and good uses of our time, okay? So this is the first time I've done what I call Q&A sessions in them, okay? But I want to give some extra credit. I want this to be a good experience for all of you, okay? I think that's all I need. Oh, I will say this. Some of you are thinking, yes, okay, so 4 of them. I'm going to go to 4 a week for the first 3 weeks, and that'll be 12, and I'll be done. No, that is 12 weeks. You can go to all 4, but you'll get only credit for being at one of them. You can go to all 4 of them a week. That would be going above and beyond the call of duty, but you only get credit for 1. Okay, so just so you know. Now, last slide here of the day. 585 points is the total number of points in the class. You'll get some percentage of those points that will then allow me to assign a letter grade. If you get a 90% of the class, I'll give you an A, not an A minus. If you get a 80% of the class, I'll give you a B, not a B minus. Okay, so we can't give a C minus at CSU for some reason. So if you get a 70%, I'll give you a C. Okay, so just so you know how I'll be doing things. I will say this, I want you to do this. Go to the very end of the syllabus, right before the schedule, and it has this whole end of the semester policy. I don't like giving students extra credit that I don't give to the whole class. Okay, so if a student contacts me and says, hey, I'm like 10 points away from my desired grade, can I write a report to get those 10 points? I'm going to say, no, I'm sorry. Because then if I do that for you, I should really do that for everyone in the class. And I can't do that at the end of the semester. Okay, so I don't make special extra credit assignments for people. Okay, so when the grades are submitted, they're submitted. If they were miscalculated, then let me know. Obviously, that's not negotiating grade, that's correcting me, right? But I don't negotiate grades, okay? Okay, now, let's look in the chat. I think we're almost done here. And then we can go on. Okay, so the geek, we got all that. That's that stuff that I didn't know about. Do we need to be able to attend for the whole time for the weekly Q&As? No, you don't. Okay, like I said, if you participate, some in that, then we'll get you credit. I don't want it to be something like, hey, I'm here, and then you're out, okay? You need to be participating and hopefully gaining something from this. So that's why I say we'll see how these go for the first couple of weeks, and then your TAs and I might have to make some adjustments in how they're going. So, okay. All right. Awesome. It looks like that's it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to say adios. It was wonderful seeing you all. I will see you on Monday, next Monday. Okay, for our synchronous time. Of course, you'll be working on the class throughout that time. If you have lingering questions, feel free to hang out even on the Zoom, and I will try and answer those questions. Or you can show up on my Q&A session, which is starting here in about 15 minutes, okay, on MS Teams. The link for that is found on Canvas, okay? Awesome. I will see you all. Take care. Okay. Check this. You're welcome. Absolutely, you're welcome.
Captain America.
Hi. Yeah, what's happening? Josh, right?
Yep, Josh.
Okay, great. What's up?
Could I ask a question about the exams?
Of course.
So when you said it's proctored, will it still be open book or will it be closed book? I'm just curious because then I'll change how I make like flashcards and stuff.
Yeah, so for right now, I'm going to say it's closed book.
Okay.
So yeah, and we'll just leave it at that unless I have some like philosophical change, but we'll just say it's closed book for now. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Take care, Josh.
You too.
Will we be using Respondus or ProctorU for that?
Respondus.
Okay, because
So,
I know, yeah, ProctorU doesn't always work with my computer, so.
So CSU decided to move away from ProctorU because it's problematic. So, so we've gone with Respondus. So, yeah.
And then for the worksheet, you said that'll be posted for us next Monday and also due next Monday, the same day.
Same day, yeah. So the idea of the worksheets is that you would have it completed by the end of the synchronous meeting session, and it would be just something that you take a picture of and upload right away. So that's the idea. It's not meant to be something that you're going to work on like lots out of class. Okay, that's why I post it day of and have it due that day too. So okay.
And then the problem sets, those we have a week to do, right?
A week to do, yeah. So the first one's posted now. I didn't make an announcement about it yet, but you can pull it up and read through the instructions. The instructions should be enough to complete it. But yeah, you'll have a full week to do it. And those you'll upload as well. And then your TAs and I will grade those. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Are the problem sets graded based on accuracy or like completion?
More completion than accuracy. So here's what I will say about that. What I want to avoid is a situation, because I'm actually going to give you, like when we do the worksheets, you're going to go off with a group, right? And then you'll do something, you'll write it down, and you'll have some answer, and then you'll come back, hopefully, and then we'll look at those. Right after that, I'm going to actually say, this is what is the answer. So I'm going to give you feedback right away. Right, so you should have the right answer. What I want to see in the worksheets is that you're putting an effort towards them, right? And then you're making maybe the corrections that I make, like, oh, that's how I was thinking about that. We were thinking about that wrong, or something along those lines. So, okay, but then you'll upload them, and hopefully, if you're showing work, we're going to give you the points for them. Okay, unless you just wrote something like just totally off the wall, right? And then you might not get points. So,
Okay.
Sorry to jump in. Esther, did you ask about the problem sets, not the worksheets?
Oh, yeah. Also, like the problem sets, is that also based on accuracy or completion?
So in that case, it will be accuracy. Okay. In fact, like if you look at the first one, it's map out the glycolytic pathway, put structures and all that. And I say specifically, every mistake you make, you'll have a half a point removed. Okay. So those will definitely be for accuracy.
And that one you can only work by yourself, like you can't work with your peers?
No, you can work with your peers. The only assignment that you can't work with by yourself is the exam. That's the only way. Okay, you can work with your peers. You're going to have to turn in your own work, your own problem set. But you can work with your peers, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent question.
You.
Yeah, no problem.
See you at your Q&A session.
Okay, yeah, in 10 minutes, I'll be there.
Okay.
All right.
Did you have a particular preference for file type for like the problems and stuff that we upload?
Word doc or PDF. PDF is honestly the easiest to work with on our end, but a Word doc would work fine. So.
All right, sounds good. Thanks,
awesome.
Captain.
Take care, Hunter. Yeah, we'll see you.
I'll also probably be at the Q&A session, but like, I might only be able to be there for a short time, so I totally understand if I don't get any points.
Yeah, no, you'll get points. I mean, if you're there, that's fine. You're asking questions. So, okay. Awesome. We'll see you in a little bit, Josh.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.